Hi everyone, this is Ashish and welcome back to the Bicep training series. And today we are going to discuss about loops and condition in Azure Bicep. Uh, Myself, Ashish Raj, I am co-founder of Azure Easy Community and I work as a cloud and DevOps architect, and as I'm also a Microsoft certified trainer. You can find more about me on azuredevops.com, azurevopspro.com. That's my website. Let's begin our discussion on loops and conditions in Azure Bicep. Now, before we discuss further, as we do, let's have a recap of our lessons we have done in the past few sessions. If you have not watched all the sessions, I would highly recommend you to watch all the sessions so that you can understand the basic things that we will may not we may not be able to kind of repeat again and again. So we started with the infrastructure as code concept. What is infrastructure as code? Why should we use it? What are the benefits of it in the cloud deployment and all the the other tools that are available for infrastructure as code. We then went into the Azure Bicep as an infrastructure as a tool, as a code tool. What are the benefits you get with Azure Bicep? Why to use it? Why? What are the other alternatives you have? So we discussed all the things, and then we looked into the tools and setup for Azure Bicep. So what are the tools and setup that can help you to build Azure Bicep easily on your computer? Visual Studio Code, associated extension for Bicep. What are the tools you need, like AGCLI for deployment and other things. And we started our journey in Bicep file structure. Then we discussed about data types, and then we discussed about parameters, variables, and outputs. And now we are going to discuss about loops and condition today. So loops and condition, as you know, in any programming language, it is one of the basic fundamental, you can say, and after data types you will find that loops and condition is something that you have to have a basic understanding of it if you start using that programming language. Now, considering Bicep as a declarative language, a kind of infrastructure as code language, it is not a pure object oriented language as such, but still it gives you the fundamental toolings like loops and conditions that helps you to do the logical implementation of loops in the similar way, and we will discuss about that now. So this is the basic syntax of loop in Azure Bicep. From here we will move from the slides. Actually, I will just close the slide, we'll move it to the another screen, and let's have a look on the one of the Bicep file. Now this is not with the loop, it is a basic Bicep file from day 6. And let me just do one thing. Yeah, so making it bit better. Yeah, so just give me a moment. Yeah, it should be readable now. It's good. So yes, so this is the basic Bicep file we have already discussed in the chapter 6. So you can see it is in the chapter 6 day 6 folder. Similarly, we have a day 7 folder. We don't have anything over here. So what we will do, first let's copy this entire thing as it is, just to keep the same pace of learning. We will just use the same file, change it for the looping, so that you can see how the difference, how the loop is being used. Let's go ahead and create a new file over here, and I will say storage loop.bicep. So I'm just having the same file more or less with the similar thing, not like that. So yes, now loop is usually you will use for when you are deploying resources. Like here we are deploying storage account, and we have like one storage account at this moment, but suppose you have like 3 storage account that you want to deploy for different stages. Just an example. For example, you can say we have a param, or it can be parameter, or it can be a variable, but we will use parameter over here, param, and I will say storage, or maybe I'll say stages, and I'll say dev, prod, and test. And actually I'll remove the prod from here, and I will say dev, test, and stage. Oops. Yeah, so we have like 3 stages, and in the 3 stages we have we want to deploy storage account for all these 3 stages. Now right now, if we will deploy only one storage account. But if we want to deploy a 3 or whatever number of elements you have in this array, we can use loops just like any other language. And for that we have a syntax, and we say this and close the bracket over here. So the main thing over here is that we are highlighting here is this syntax and closing this syntax over here. So this for starts from here, and then it is saying for for this entire resource here I have a for loop here, and for loop is for stage in stages. So stages is like array. In this array I want to deploy a storage account, and of course right now we have like one single name, so it will try to deploy the same storage account. However, we want to have storage account with multiple names, because you can't have multiple storage account with the same name, because it has to be globally unique. Now, so what we will do is we will move this thing over here to the name, and now we don't need this variable anymore because we don't need it. So now still this prefix is kind of coming from the the variable this stage, and however we don't need this prefix as well, and instead we need prefix from this. So for each stage, so you have each element, 3 elements, 1 2 3, dev, test, stage. For each element, when it goes through the for loop, it will first pick dev, then it will pick test, then it will pick stage, and then similarly it will give the value here, and then it will generate the unique string. We have already discussed all these things, but you will get a unique name for each stage. So now it will not be one single account, it will be like 3 different storage account that you will get, and you will deploy this storage account. Now this output doesn't matter anymore, so we will get rid of it. So this is how you apply for loop for a storage account, and then you deploy this bicep file just like you deploy any other bicep file. So let's go ahead and deploy this. Now before we deploy this, we have to have a storage account. So let's have a look on our portal. So we have this portal here, and let me do this. Yeah, so we don't have a storage account, resource group where we will deploy. So let's have a resource group created. So az group create, name of the resource group should be bicep training loop rg. Yeah, and somehow the single quote is not in the right place, and location East US, maybe. You can have any location you want. So we are going to create a group, resource group, with the name. Let me zoom it a little bit so that it makes sense. Yep. So we are creating a resource group with the name bicep training loop RG and with the location set as East US, and let's go ahead and create it. Now it has created this resource group, and if we go to the our Azure portal and if we refresh this guy, then we should have still not there, yep. So here we have it, and right now it has no resources and there is no resource here. So let's go back to the VS Code and create the resource. Now before we create the resource, let's have a look. So we have like one parameter which has default values. It could be a variable as well. Right now we are just picking parameter, but we still have a parameter called RG location. For that we will have to provide a parameter, and we can provide it through the CLI, through the terminal, but we prefer providing that using the parameter file just like we did last time. So we have a parameter file over here. All we can do is we can copy this guy, and let's do this actually, and copy this and go to the day 7 and paste it over here. So we are using the same thing, but we don't need this storage prefix because we have removed it. So we will remove it from here. We can optionally add the another parameter, which is the stages, but since we have a default value, we don't want that right now. But yes, in your case, if you have stages as a variable value or something that you want to put it in the parameter, we have already discussed about what to put in parameter, what to put in variable, so we will not get into that discussion as of now. But you can decide upon your production use case. Now let's go ahead and deploy this. So we will deploy, and yep, so we just have to change the resource group name, and the resource group name here is, I was just checking this thing, and we will have, or you can paste it over here. So we have a resource group name, we have template file, we have parameter file, everything is in place. So what we will do is we'll try to create this deployment, and when we create the deployment, let's wait for some time. And starting, and if we go to the deployment tab of the resource group, we will see that it's happening over here. So this is one of the benefit of using Bicep, that you get the state saved on the Azure side, that you can see what's happening, how is it going through, and if there is any error or if there is any problem, then it will tell you what exactly the problem is. So we have like one storage account already created, test is already done, stage is going through, and then dev is going through it. So we will get this storage account in some time, possibly within few seconds, or let's see. So once this is done, we have 3 storage account, and if you go to the resource group, you will see that, Microsoft Azure, where are you? So it takes some time, sometime just have to refresh it, and we go to the resource group actually from here just to make sure it is refreshed. So if we go to the Bicep training loop, we got the 3 storage accounts. So now coming back to the Bicep file, you can see this is the way you can use loops in your storage account, in your Bicep file. Now similarly, we have something called conditions, and you can use combination of loops and condition, or you can even have condition just for one resource maybe. So suppose we have like resource, and actually let's do this way. So we will create a same resource, that is storage account, but this time we will remove the loop from here. We will just keep it like that, like we did previously. And here we will do this, name it prod account. Now, so what we are saying is that we need a storage account which is different, which is not really, just to demonstrate, we can do this from here itself. The use case can be solved from here itself, but we are just demonstrating another use case where you can use conditions to deploy resources. So for example, here I will put the condition, and I'll say, let's do this. Here I have a parameter, and I say stage string is equals to prod. Just not make this. So we just have or maybe let's do this is prod. Well, so what we are saying is that there is another parameter which says is prod, and if is prod is equals to true. If is prod is equals to true, then then this resource will make sense to the bicep. Otherwise it will not make sense, and we will see that how. So here we also have to remove this guy because now it's not required, and we'll just put it like this. So instead of that, actually we don't need this whole thing. So we will see that what we are saying is that if prod is bool, which is a boolean, if true, then it is going to deploy the resources. And for that, actually oops. Just making sure the indentation is there. So what I'm saying is that if isProd is passed as true to the parameter file, then it will deploy, this particular source will be identified. And what we can do is, let's go back to the terminal, and so what we are doing is, oops, let's change this. So I'm going to pass the same resource group name here, and I'm saying az deploy group what if resource group is this, and then I'm saying the same thing. So I'm just using a different command now. What if uses what it does is it goes to the state file on the Azure Resource Manager side, and it compare the bicep file that you provide through this template file argument, and then parameters, and then validate if there is any change. And let's go ahead and see if it detects any change, because we have added a resource over here, but it is a conditional resource. So we have added another storage account, but it has a condition that the isProd value has to be true. However, we are passing it as a false from the parameter file. So technically there is no change. I mean, we are not, we have not given any different parameter file. And let's have a look here. So oops, it's yeah, and you can see that it says there is no change. There is only 3 resources it detects, and there is no change as such. Now what we can do is, let's go back and make it a little bit smaller. So this parameter file, what we are doing is making it true. So what we are saying is it's a prod, so that means this value is true now, and if it is true, then you have to deploy this guy as well. And if we look at the command output now, the same command, what if, using the same parameter file with a different parameter value for is prod, which is true now, then it should give us one more resource to be created. So 3 are existing, but one more resource to be created. It should tell us. We are not yet creating it. We are just checking if file is validating this new resource based on the if condition. And you can see that we have one new resource to create, and the resource is like this. And you can see that there is a prod thing in front of it, and of course unique name and blah blah blah, and it's deploying this resource. Now let's go ahead and deploy this to check and actually have a look on the. So here, if we see, refresh it, we just have 3 dev, stage, test. We don't have a prod one. So let's have a look on let's have a deployment started. So I'll go ahead and run this command, just that instead of what if, we will see create. So I'm going there. Yep. Oh, we create. And it's going to create this extra resource for us. Let's wait for some time. It's working on it. Oops. And yep, let's yep, so I think it's running. So if we go back to the storage account and deployment, and you see that we have a storage loop deployment going on, and it has deployed the resource now. And if we go to the resource group, again the bicep loop, and if we refresh it, this is the browser thing. Let's refresh the entire browser. We have this prod storage account now. So we can see that we have another storage account based on that condition that we have applied on this resource type. So if we make it false, then this, even if this thing exists in the bicep file, it will not be applied, so it will not be deployed. But when we deploy this, it worked. Now there is one more thing that I want to show you, that the conditional operator. So not only on the resource level, you can even apply conditional operator on these variables as well. I mean, not variable, but at these attributes or arguments of the resource as well, or on the variable, or whatever you want to. So what I mean to say is that there is another way of defining the condition. That for example, we want to define a condition like var, and we say that storage SKU is equals to, and we want to have SKU based on what stage it is. So if is prod is true, that means is prod is true, then I want to deploy to I want to have the SKU as a standard GRS. Otherwise I want to have this as standard LRS. So what I mean to say is that if if production is getting deployed, then I want to have this as SKU as GRS. Otherwise I want to have this as LRS. Now I won't touch this guy, just let it be there. I am going to apply this here. So of course this will only come when the prod is true, but even if then I want to apply this SKU, instead of hard coded I want to apply a conditional operator over here, and that will define which SKU it should go. And of course, because isProd is true, it will always go there and will apply standard GRS. Now let's have a look, and if we look at this, then storage configurations, yeah, storage general, I think there has to be somewhere where they say what kind of, or maybe they will not let us change. Here, yeah, so it says LRS. Let's try to deploy this. Sometimes resources do not support changing SKU, but let's see. I mean, we will see that. So I'm not sure about the storage account. So I'm again going to deploy the same bicep file, and this time it's starting the deployment. Okay, it's running. Let this, okay, yeah, so it's running. And if we go here and if we go to the resource group, deployments still running, yeah, it's just finished and it's deployed, I think. Let's go to the Visual Studio. Yeah, it has completed. Now let's see the storage account type of the prod. Oops, not from here, from here, prod. And here if we see, still saying LRSY. Yep, so we have this GRS now. So we have conditionally applied this to the storage account. Now there is a better way of doing it, just to demonstrate these different types of conditional if, conditional if, or you can say the loops. We have used this kind of bicep file, but instead of that we can also do like this. So we have removed the prod 1, and what we are going to do is we are going to add a additional prod here, and what we are going to say is that for each stage we are going to deploy a storage account, but we are going to use this storage SKU. So if this will be a prod, yeah, then it will apply this, and here what we will do is, let's do this. So stage is equals to prod, then do this. Very simple. So what we are saying is that the SKU, if stage will be prod, then it has to be GRS, actually it has done. So that's the thing, you have to make sure that Copilot does things right for you. So, if the stage value will be prod, which is, coming from this stage for each stages in this array. So we have one prod, rest of them are dev test stage. Then it has to set this as ZRS, otherwise it has to set it as LRS. And you can do this for any, the way you want to have, like, different SKU. But this is the thing, the conditions I can apply on this SKU. Similarly, you can apply conditions on different properties of the resource that you are deploying. It might be virtual machine, it might be API management, it might be other resources in Azure. But you want to configure the properties of those resources based on the stages they belong to. And we have one stage variable over here, and based on that we are creating multiple resources, but we are defining their property on the runtime. So now, since we are already having the prod, and we are going to decide prod from here itself, so we don't need is prod anymore. So I am going to remove this now, and similarly we will remove this variable from here. So what we will do is, let's go to the storage account and let me delete this guy actually, just to test from the scratch. So we have already tested the loop and other things, but now we will test if we will deploy it differently, what will happen. So delete, oops, delete. So let's let it get deleted, and let me do this way. Yeah, so it's deleting. Once it has deleted, we will come. Yeah, so we have this, it's more cleaner than previously, but we understand now how we are using it and what are the different ways you can use it. So we have a stage, and we can have conditions within this resource, or just like we did previously, or we can have condition for the properties itself. Now similarly, let this resource group deleted, and let me clear this so that make a room on the terminal, and it is still deleting. So once this is deleted, let's wait for some time. Yep, so it's taking some time. So you got the idea, like, you can use for loop and the conditions depending upon how exactly you want to use it. So at some time you might want to use this conditional operator within the within the arguments of the resources, because you have one single resource which defines all the stages, and you just switch the values based on the conditions of one particular parameter or one particular you can say variable. And then you can have a condition for the resource itself, just like we did previously. Like if you have a resource like a virtual machine, for example, and you want to deploy that virtual machine for one condition only, and then you have 4 storage account that you need to have deployed all of them based on the looping, one of the array, you can do that way. Let's have a look. Yep, so it has deleted now. So let's go back to the resource groups just to confirm, and we don't have this resource group anymore. So let's go back and create the resource group again. So we are creating the bicep training loop RG, same resource group, and we can actually create the resource group and create the resources in the single bicep file, or by using a single command that is called subscription level deployment, and we will discuss about it in the upcoming chapters. right now we are going, step by step. So we have the resource group now, and if we go back to the portal and if we refresh it, we should get back our resource group. Bicep, no, let's refresh the entire browser. Oops. Taking time. Why? Yep. So we have this resource group now, but of course we don't have any resource. Now let's go back and let's see what it does. So instead of creating it again, let's see what if does. And if we do this, this is one of the best practice to validate your template before deploying it, using the what if command to see what will happen on the Azure side if you deploy this template with the parameter file that you're providing. And as you can see, it's deploying 4 resources, and you can see there are 4 resources, and you can see there is one standard LRS, but there is one standard GRS, and then rest of them all are standard LRS. And if you see the GRS one, you can see that the name starts with prod, which is our prod storage account. So it's the same deployment, but using a little bit more cleaner Bicep file. So we just demonstrated this with the basic setup. Now coming back a little bit more cleaner approach, and this is the way you will see mostly in your production environment when you deploy resources using Bicep. Then you will see this kind of combination of different components or different concept like loops, conditions and all in your Bicep file. Okay, so let's go ahead and deploy this. So we will deploy this using create command, and we'll go ahead and issue the command, and it is so yeah, just maximizing it just to make sure it is readable. Yeah, so it's going to deploy this. It's starting, and if we are going there and if we go to the deployment, you'll see that yeah, it's running. So as you can see, there are 4 resources being created, which are storage accounts, and it will soon deploy the resources. Okay. And as you can see, it has created the resource, and we have 3 only. Yep, we have 4. And if we go to dev first, let's have a look on dev, and if you look at it, is locally redundant LRS. But if we go to, let's go like this. Oops. So training resource group, no, this. Yeah, so we have already looked into the dev, and it is LRS. Now let's go back to the prod, and you'll see it is GRS, as you can see, GRS. But if we again go back to the stage, it should be LRS. Yeah, you can see it is LRS. And similarly, the last one, which is test, also LRS. So we can apply conditions for these parameters, and that's how we can use condition and loops in combination. So this is the one thing that I wanted to show. Of course, there are different other ways to apply loops. We will discuss about those loops in upcoming sessions. This is one of the most basic one, and this is one of the one of the many loops, looping in Bicep that you will use at least in the beginning or at least on the intermediate, not intermediate, but yes, for considerable scalable infrastructure, this loop is more than enough. And then slowly, when you start getting into the more complex stuff, you will figure out that you need little bit more control on loop using indexes and all, and we will discuss about those loops as well as we move forward for little bit more complex examples once we finish all these basic concept. So for today, this is it from my side, and this is my YouTube. I mean, you are watching on YouTube. Oh, look, let me just go back to the Zoom mode. Yep. So you can connect me on LinkedIn. You can join our DevOps group on Telegram, which has more than 6,000 or 7,000 members now, where we discuss real-time issues. You have any challenge on related to DevOps, like you are facing issues with any tool, Azure, Cloud, DevOps tooling like Azure DevOps or GitHub or any Jenkins or any other pipeline related issues, you can post there, and I am almost available. But yes, we have like more than 6,000 members, community members, who also help each other there, solving each other problems. So yeah, let's join there and keep connected. Connect again for the next lesson on Azure Bicep very soon. Thank you. Have a good day.